In a quiet river village where the church bell was said to keep evil spirits at bay, something dark was about to surface. Something that would shake every foundation of faith the people had known. Sister Amma opened the passenger door of her husband's car to clean it. Pastor Malachi had just returned from what he called a prayer retreat. 3 days away. 3 days of silence. When she bent down to sweep the floor mat, a strange smell hit her. Salt and jasmine. Impossible. Their village was hours from any ocean. Then she saw it. Under the seat, tangled in the shadows, a necklace. But not ordinary jewelry. It was woven from silver so deep it looked like moonlight on black water. And the strands, they weren't thread. They were hair. Smooth, translucent, like seaweed dried in starlight. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. The moment she touched it, coldness rushed through her palm. Then she heard it. A woman's voice, soft as wind through reeds. Amma. Her name. Spoken by something that wasn't there. She dropped the necklace and stepped back, heart pounding like drums at a funeral. That evening, Pastor Malachi came home. But he was different. His eyes didn't meet hers. His smile felt rehearsed. When Amma asked about the retreat, he answered quickly. Too quickly. It was in the mountains. Prayer and fasting. Nothing special. But Amma had seen the truth. When he removed his boots by the door, fine sand spilled onto the floor. Not mountain dust. Sea sand. White and glittering. She wanted to ask. She wanted to scream. But something in his silence stopped her. He moved through their home like a guest, careful not to touch anything for too long. That night, Amma lay beside him in bed. He didn't pray with her like he always did. He just turned his back and pretended to sleep. But she could feel it. The distance. The coldness. Like he'd left part of himself somewhere else. And in her dreams that night, she drowned. Over and over. In her own church. Sunday morning came. The church filled as usual. Women in bright wrappers. Men in pressed shirts. Children squirming in the pews. But something was different. When Pastor Malachi stepped up to preach, his voice carried power it had never held before. Deep. Commanding. It echoed off the walls like water pounding stone. People leaned forward. Some closed their eyes and swayed. One elder whispered to his wife. His voice sounds like the river now. Amma sat in the front row, watching. She noticed things others didn't. The way his hands trembled when he opened the Bible. The way his eyes flickered toward the windows, as if watching for something. After service, she stayed behind to pray alone. The church was quiet. Too quiet. Then she heard it. Dripping. Slow and steady. She walked toward the pulpit. Water. Seeping from underneath. Dark and cold. She knelt and touched it. Her fingers came away smelling of salt. Then the church bell rang. Once. Loud and sharp. But no one was in the tower. Amma couldn't sleep. She lit a candle and pulled out an old book her grandmother had given her. Spiritual texts. Warnings. Legends passed down through generations. She flipped through brittle pages until she found it. A drawing. A woman's hand holding a necklace exactly like the one she'd found. Beneath it, words written in faded ink. The binding necklace. Worn by river brides. Once a man is bound, he must return to the water, or go mad. Her breath caught. River brides. She'd heard the stories as a child. Spirits who lived beneath the water. Beautiful. Deadly. They chose men, bound them with gifts, and claimed their souls. She ran to the kitchen and grabbed a holy bowl. Her hands shook as she placed the necklace inside. She poured holy water over it and began to pray. The words came fast, desperate. Then the necklace moved. It twisted in the water like something alive. And from the silver threads, red drops began to rise. Blood. The necklace was bleeding. The next morning, Alma woke to wet footprints on the bedroom floor. She followed them with her eyes. They led from the bed to her husband's closet. But Pastor Malachi was still asleep beside her. Or pretending to be. She got up quietly and opened the closet door. His clothes hung neatly. His shoes lined the floor. But everything smelled of salt. She ran her hand along his jackets. Damp. All of them. Like he'd been swimming in his sleep. At breakfast, she finally asked, "Malachi, where did you really go?" He looked up from his tea, face blank. "I told you. A prayer retreat." "Then why is there sea sand in your boots?" His jaw tightened. "You're imagining things, Alma." That afternoon, 2 church deacons came to visit her. They didn't smile. "Sister Alma," one said slowly, "some of the members are concerned. They say you've been asking too many questions. Doubting the pastor." The other leaned closer. "A wife should trust her husband. Especially a man of God." That evening, the village well turned black. Completely black. No one could drink from it. Alma sat in the church garden the next day, feeling hopeless. Then she felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned. It was Kofi, the church gardener. He'd been mute since birth. Never spoke a word. But everyone knew he saw things others didn't. He handed her something. A folded paper. She opened it carefully. It was a map. Hand-drawn. It showed the river that ran behind the village. And near the bend, marked with a strange symbol, a cave. A mermaid sigil. Alma looked at Kofi. His eyes were serious. He pointed toward the river, then at her, then pressed his finger to his lips. A warning. Or a secret. She waited until dusk. Then she followed the map. Through the thick bush. Past the palm trees. Down the muddy bank. Until she reached the cave. Hidden. Forgotten. The entrance was narrow, covered in vines. She stepped inside. Darkness swallowed her. But then she heard it. Singing. Her husband's voice. Singing a song she'd never heard. But he was at home. She'd left him there. Alma moved deeper into the cave. Her hands touched the cold stone walls. Carvings. Everywhere. She pulled out a small flashlight and gasped. The images were clear. A man and a woman. But the woman had a fishtail. They were entwined. Holding each other. A pact carved in stone. The singing grew louder. It wasn't coming from a person. It was coming from the walls. From the water that dripped and pooled in the center of the cave. She knelt beside it. And there, half submerged, she saw her husband's Bible. His name engraved on the leather cover. Pages swollen with water. She reached for it. Her hand broke the surface. The water rippled. And then she saw it. A reflection. But not her own. A face. A woman's face. Beautiful and terrible. Staring up at her from below. The voice came again. This time clear. This time real. He is already mine. Alma stumbled backward. Her flashlight dropped. The cave went dark. But she could still hear it. Breathing. Rising. Coming closer. Alma ran home. She locked herself in the guest room and opened the waterlogged Bible. The pages were stuck together, but she peeled them apart carefully. Inside, on the back page, there was writing. Not scripture. A confession. If anyone finds this, know that I made a choice. 5 years ago, I nearly drowned in the river. The current pulled me under. I called out to God, but it was her who answered. Mommy Sua. She pulled me to the surface. She breathed life back into my lungs. And in return, I swore an oath. A portion of my heart. A portion of my soul. In exchange for power. For favor. For miracles. Alma's hands shook. She kept reading. I thought I could control it. I thought I could walk away. But the binding is real. She calls me back. And now I cannot stop. Forgive me. It was dated 3 years ago. Before their wedding. Before everything. He had known. He had always known. And then she saw the last line. Written in different ink. Fresh. Recent. She wants more. She wants you too. Amma dropped the Bible. Then the lights went out. And she heard weeping. Not from inside the house. From the river. That night, the river flooded. Not slowly. Suddenly. Like something had broken a dam. Water rushed through the village paths. People screamed. Mothers grabbed their children. Men shouted warnings. But one child, a little girl named Esi, was swept away in the current. Amma heard the screams from her window. She didn't think. She just ran. Down to the river. Into the water. The cold bit her skin like teeth. She saw Esi's head bobbing, going under. Amma swam hard. Her arms burning. She reached the child and grabbed her. Then she did something she hadn't done in years. She spoke the prayer her grandmother taught her. The old words. The ones from before the church came. Words of the first water. Words the river understood. The current stopped. Just for a moment. Just long enough. Amma dragged Esi to the bank. The child coughed and cried. People gathered. They stared at Amma. Whispers began. How did she do that? What did she say? That wasn't a Christian prayer. But Amma didn't answer. She only looked toward the river. And there, standing in the mist, she saw her. The mermaid. Mommy Sua. Watching. Weeping. The next Sunday, during the middle of the service, something impossible happened. The sky was clear. No clouds. No wind. But suddenly, fish began to fall. Not rain. Fish. Small silver ones. Dozens of them. They hit the roof, slid down the windows, flopped on the ground outside. Children screamed. Women covered their heads. Men stood frozen. Pastor Malachi tried to keep preaching, but his voice faltered. Then one fish fell right through a crack in the roof. It landed on the pulpit in front of him. Still alive. Gasping. He stared at it. His face went pale. Then he looked at Amma. Their eyes met. And in that moment, she knew. He understood. The spirits were angry. The balance had been broken. And now the whole village would pay the price. After service, people gathered in confused groups. Talking. Arguing. Some said it was a sign of blessing. Others said it was a curse. But the elders knew better. One old woman pointed at the church and said, "Something wicked is under that roof." And that night, the river rose again. Higher this time. Closer to the homes. Amma knew she needed help. Not from the church. Not from the deacons. From someone who understood the old ways. She remembered the stories. Years ago, there was a woman. Nana Iba. A river witch. She had warned the church about building so close to the water. But they'd called her a demon and chased her out of the village. Amma asked the oldest women where Nana Iba had gone. They whispered directions. Deep into the forest. Past the silk cotton tree. To a hut that smelled of smoke and herbs. Amma walked for hours. When she finally arrived, Nana Iba was waiting. Sitting outside her hut. Stirring a pot over a fire. She didn't look up. She just said, "I knew you would come." Amma sat down slowly. "My husband is bound to a river spirit." Nana Iba nodded. "Mommy Sua." "Yes. I warned him once. He didn't listen." She finally looked at Amma. Her eyes were sharp. Ancient. Only love without ego can break a binding. But are you willing to give that much? Before Amma could answer, Nana Iba handed her a small vial. Inside was white powder. River bone dust. Sprinkle it on him while he sleeps. You will see the truth. That night, Alma waited until her husband was deep in sleep. She opened the vial carefully and sprinkled the dust over his chest. It glowed faintly, then dissolved into his skin. She lay beside him and closed her eyes. Visions came fast. She saw him underwater, crowned with shells and seaweed. Mommy Sua circling him like a current. He was smiling, laughing, drunk on power. She heard his voice. Give me more. I'll do anything. The mermaid's voice replied. Even your wife's silence. And he said, yes. Amma gasped and opened her eyes. But her throat closed, tight, like hands choking her. She tried to scream. Nothing came out. She grabbed her neck, gasping for air. She stumbled out of bed, fell to the floor, clawing at her throat. Pastor Malachi woke up. He saw her struggling and panicked. He tried to help, but she pushed him away. Her eyes full of rage, full of betrayal. He'd sold her voice, her freedom, for power, for miracles. She crawled to the window, tears streaming, silenced by the very man who swore to protect her. The next morning, Alma couldn't speak. Not a word. Not a whisper. Pastor Malachi tried to act normal, but guilt weighed on him like stones. At church, he stepped up to preach as usual. The congregation waited. He opened his mouth. But halfway through his sermon, his voice cracked. It didn't sound like him anymore. It sounded like waves crashing, like something dragging him under. His words became slurred, wet. People leaned forward, confused. Then his eyes changed. Just for a second. They turned silver, bright and unnatural. A woman in the front row gasped. A child started crying. Alma watched from the back, tears rolling down her silent face. Then the church shook. Not from wind. Not from footsteps. The walls trembled. The roof groaned. Someone shouted, "Earthquake!" But it wasn't. It was something else. Something angry. The wooden beams above began to crack. Dust fell like ash. Pastor Malachi looked up. His face twisted in fear. Then thunder roared. Loud. So loud the windows rattled. And the roof split. Right down the center. Light poured through. And with it, rain. But only inside the church. Only above the pulpit. Alma ran back to Nana Iba. Still unable to speak, she pointed to her throat, tears streaming. Nana Iba understood immediately. She led Alma inside the hut and sat her down. He sold your voice. But it wasn't his to sell. Nana Iba pulled out a small drum and began to tap it. Slowly, rhythmically. Then she sang. A song in the old tongue. The language of the first water. The words crawled under Alma's skin. They pulled at something deep inside her chest. Sing with me, Nana Iba said. Even if no sound comes. Sing in your spirit. Alma closed her eyes. She moved her lips. At first, nothing. Then a hum. Faint. Fragile. Then stronger. Her voice returned. Cracked and raw, but hers again. She gasped and touched her throat. It's back. Nana Iba smiled. Good. Now look. She pointed at Alma's chest. Alma looked down and screamed. There, burned into her skin just above her heart, was a mark. The shape of the necklace. Glowing faintly. And on her husband's chest, she knew, the same mark was there. They were bound. Both of them. To the spirit below. That evening, it rained. Heavy and cold. Alma stood outside in it, waiting. She knew he would come. And he did. Pastor Malachi walked toward her slowly, soaked to the bone. His face was broken. His eyes red. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't know it would go this far. Alma's voice was steady. calm. You knew enough. You chose power over truth. You chose her over me. He fell to his knees. I wanted to protect you, to build something, to be more than I was. And now? Amma asked. What are we now? Before he could answer, the river surged. A wave rose from the bank, tall and impossible. And from it, she appeared. Mommy Sua. Her skin glowed like moonlight. Her eyes burned with ancient fury. She looked at Pastor Malachi and spoke. You promised me your soul. Not pieces. All of it. He stood frozen, trembling. The mermaid turned her gaze to Amma. And now, you interfere. You break my bindings. You sing the old songs. You will pay. The rain pounded harder. Lightning split the sky. And Mommy Sua's voice echoed like thunder. One of you will drown. Choose. Amma didn't wait. She ran back to the house, grabbed the cursed necklace from the holy bowl, and carried it outside. Pastor Malachi tried to stop her. Amma, don't. You don't know what will happen. But she did. She had seen it in the visions. She had heard it in Nana Iba's warnings. The binding could only be broken by destroying the object. And the object could only be destroyed by holy fire. She ran to the church. The doors were locked, but she kicked them open. Inside, she lit the altar candles and placed the necklace in the center of the flames. At first, nothing. Then the silver began to twist. To scream. Yes, scream. A high, terrible wail like a woman in agony. The fire roared higher. The necklace writhed like a living thing. And outside, Pastor Malachi collapsed. His body convulsed. His skin turned pale, cold. He gasped for air but found none. His fingers clawed at the ground. Amma ran to him. No, no, no. She held his face. But he was fading. His body was turning. Slowly. Into water. His edges blurred. His hands became liquid. He was dissolving. Amma screamed. She couldn't lose him. Not like this. She looked toward the river. Mommy Sua stood there, arms crossed, watching. Waiting. Amma knew what she had to do. If she wanted to save him, she had to go where no living person should. Into the river's mouth. Into the spirit world below. She ran. Straight into the water. The current pulled her under immediately. Down. Down. Deeper than any river should go. The light above faded. Darkness swallowed her. But she didn't stop. She swam toward the glow below. And then she saw it. A world. Hidden beneath the surface. Palaces made of coral and bone. Streets paved with shells. And wandering through it all, spirits. Hundreds of them. Translucent. Lost. Souls of those who'd broken promises. Those who'd been claimed by the water. Amma's lungs burned. But she kept moving. And there, in the center of the underwater city, chained to a stone pillar, was her husband. His spirit. His true self. Trapped. Bound by silver chains that glowed like the necklace. He looked at her. His eyes full of sorrow. You shouldn't have come. Mommy Sua appeared beside Amma, her form shifting like water in moonlight. You are bold, wife of the Oathbreaker. But boldness will not save you here. Amma's voice came strong despite the water pressing on her lungs. What do you want from us? The mermaid circled her slowly. Truth. That is all the river has ever wanted. Your husband lied. He took power and gave nothing. He made promises and broke them. Then take me, Amma said. Let him go. Mommy Sua laughed. Cold. Sharp. It is not so simple. To free him, you must face the trial of the heart. You must speak your deepest truth. Every secret. Every shame. If you lie, even once, you stay here forever. Amma looked at her husband's chained spirit. Then, at the mermaid. She nodded. I accept. The water around her shifted. The spirits gathered. A circle formed. And in the center, a stone appeared. Smooth. Black. Ancient. Amma placed her hand on it. It burned cold. Then the questions came. Not from Mommy Sua. From the stone itself. From the river's memory. While Amma faced her trial underwater, something impossible happened on land. Kofi, the mute gardener, walked into the center of the village square. People stared. He raised his hand, opened his mouth, and spoke. His voice was rough, unused, but clear. I was cursed as a child. I saw something I shouldn't have. A spirit binding. And for my silence, I was struck mute. But today, the river has released me. Because truth must be told. The crowd gathered, shocked, whispering. Kofi continued. Pastor Malachi made a pact with Mommy Sua. He traded his soul for power, for miracles. Everything you've seen, every healing, every prophecy, it came from her. Not from God. Gasps, murmurs, angry shouts. Some refused to believe. Others felt betrayed. One elder stood. Where is the pastor now? Kofi pointed toward the river. His wife has gone to save him. She went into the water, into the spirit world. And if she doesn't return, he dies. The villagers turned toward the river. Some began to pray. Others wept. And the truth spread like wildfire. The man they had trusted. The man they had followed. He had lied to them all. Inside the church, the walls began to shake again. Not from wind. From rage. The spirits would not allow lies to stand in holy places anymore. The altar cracked down the middle. The cross hanging above tilted and fell, crashing onto the floor. Pastor Malachi, still half dissolved into water, crawled toward the pulpit. He tried to stand, tried to preach, to explain. But the moment he opened his mouth, the church trembled violently. The pews slid. The windows shattered. Glass rained inward like judgment. People outside heard the destruction. They ran toward the building. When they pushed the doors open, they found him there, collapsed, barely solid, his body flickering between flesh and liquid. He looked up at them, eyes pleading. But no words came. The church itself had rejected him. Then the bell tower groaned. The massive iron bell, the one that had rung for decades, the one said to keep evil away, broke loose. It fell, slowly, crashing through the roof, slamming into the floor beside him. The sound echoed for miles. And above the church, storm clouds gathered, dark, unnatural, spinning like a whirlpool in the sky. Underwater, Amma completed the trial. She had confessed everything. Her resentment toward her husband, her silent anger, her fear, her pride, every hidden truth. The stone beneath her hand stopped burning. The water around her stilled. Mommy Sua watched in silence. Then, for the first time, she spoke softly, almost sadly. You are rare, wife. You love him even in his betrayal. You speak truth even when it cuts you. Amma's chest heaved. She was running out of air. Her vision blurred. Please, let him go. The mermaid's eyes shimmered. A single tear, silver and bright, fell from her face. It floated through the water like a star. I cannot, she whispered. The binding is law. But I can offer you a choice. She gestured toward Pastor Malachi's chained spirit. Take his place. Be bound to me. Serve me as he should have. And he goes free. His body restored. His life returned. But you remain here. Forever. Amma looked at her husband. His spirit was fading. Barely visible now. She thought of everything. The lies. The betrayal. The pain. But she also thought of love. Real love. The kind that doesn't count the cost. She nodded. I agree. The moment Amma spoke those words, the chains around Pastor Malachi's spirit shattered. Light burst from him. His form solidified. He gasped and reached for her, but the current pulled them apart. Amma! No. She smiled. Peaceful. It's okay. Then the water swallowed her, pulled her down into the depths, into the dark palace below. On land, Pastor Malachi's body became solid again. He gasped for air. Real air. His skin warm. His heart beating. He sat up, confused, disoriented. The storm above stopped. The clouds scattered. Sunlight broke through. But Amma was gone. He stumbled to the riverbank, screaming her name. Amma! Amma! He waded into the water, searching. But the river was calm now. Silent. Still. People gathered around him. Kofi placed a hand on his shoulder. She made a choice. Pastor Malachi collapsed on the shore, holding her shoes. The ones she'd left behind. He sobbed. Broken. Destroyed by the weight of what his ambition had cost. Then a child's voice, small and clear, called out. Look. In the water. Everyone turned. There, just beneath the surface, a glow. Soft. Golden. Moving. Amma opened her eyes. But she wasn't drowning. She was standing. In the water. But also above it. Her body glowed faintly, like moonlight through mist. She looked at her hands. Solid, but translucent. She could see through them to the water below. Mommy Sua appeared beside her. Not angry anymore. Just watching. You broke the curse, the mermaid said. Not by violence. By sacrifice. The river respects that. Amma looked at her, confused. But you said I would stay. I said you would be bound. And you are. But not as a slave. As a bridge. Mommy Sua touched Amma's shoulder. You are no longer only human. You are a bridge walker. A spirit who walks between water and earth. You can see both worlds. Speak to both. You will protect the balance. Amma looked toward the shore. She saw her husband there, weeping. Her heart ached. Can I go back to him? Mommy Sua's expression softened. Not as you were. You can visit. You can guide. But you cannot live as his wife anymore. That life ended when you chose truth over comfort. Amma nodded slowly. She understood. She stepped toward the shore. Her feet touched the wet sand. Pastor Malachi looked up. His eyes widened. Amma. She smiled. Warm. Forgiving. I'm here. But I'm also not. I forgive you, Malachi. But I cannot stay. And with that, she faded into the morning mist. In the months that followed, the village rebuilt. Not just the church, but their understanding, their faith. Kofi became the new spiritual guide. Not a pastor. A teacher. Someone who spoke truth instead of miracles. Nana Iba was welcomed back with honor. She helped cleanse the church grounds. Taught the women the old prayers. Reminded them that God and the spirits were not enemies. Just different languages of the same truth. The church was rebuilt. But this time, it faced the river. Not in fear. In respect. A reminder that power without truth is a lie. That binding without consent is slavery. That love without sacrifice is just a word. And in the center of the new altar, sealed in glass, they placed something. A small silver necklace. Not to worship. To remember. So no one would forget the cost of ambition. The price of lies. The strength of a woman who chose love over self. Every Sunday, people gathered. Not to see miracles. But to hear truth. And sometimes, during prayers, they would feel it. A presence by the river. Soft. Watchful. Protective. Amma. The bridge walker. still guarding them, still loving them, still free. Years later, an elder sat with a child by the riverbank. The child asked, "Grandmother, is the story of Sister Amma true?" The old woman smiled. "True as the water in this river, as true as the sun rising every morning." "But how do you know?" the child pressed. The elder pointed toward the water. "Because every night, when the moon is full, you can still see her, aglow beneath the surface. And if you listen close, you can hear her singing. Not sad, not angry, just free." The child leaned forward, eyes wide. "What does the song say?" "It says," the elder whispered, "that the river never forgets those who lie to it. And it never forgets those who love it bravely." The child looked at the water, quiet, thoughtful, then asked, "Grandmother, if it was you, would you have sacrificed yourself?" The elder chuckled softly. "That, my child, is a question only your own heart can answer. But remember this, love is not just feeling. It's choosing. Every single day." The river flowed gently, and in its current, a light shimmered, just for a moment, then disappeared. The moral of the story? Dear parents, dear leaders, dear believers, truth is heavier than power. And a lie dressed in robes is still a lie. Speak the truth, even when it costs you everything. Because in the end, freedom is worth more than comfort. Thanks for listening. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that shake the soul and remind us what it means to live with courage.